although we might look, we might look, or excuse me, I have to do something. So sometimes we might look very serene, but know that we've faced all sorts of obstacles in our life as well. And so we bring you that experience, and from our hearts and in a genuine and sincere way. And tonight, Greg's going to talk about the 4 steps to calm, or the 4 steps of calm, but it's the 4 steps to calm. So it's a plan that if you follow, you will end up with a serene and calm nature, as you will see on Greg's face when he starts to talk to you. So Greg is a Melbourne boy and has been coming and going here at the Retreat Centre for more than 20 years, and the Fitzroy Centre as well in Brunswick Street, and so has travelled to India many, many times. So not only life experience, but also spiritual experience of a very wide variety. And so what I like about Greg is his absolutely practical application. What you see is what you get, and also what is useful. Let's look at our spiritual life and see what is useful to us living in this human form and in this chaotic world. So I'm very happy to bring Greg now onto the screen.
So, excuse me, Om Shanti, and welcome everybody. I can see some faces, some names I know, so hello to those I don't. And I'm hoping I can get to know the rest of you. So hello. So Greg is my name. And here we are, the wonders of technology, that I am sitting in my apartment in the city, and you're all, I guess, scattered around, perhaps down near the peninsula somewhere. And you are regulars, I hear, on the Monday night practical meditation class. So if there's anything I love, it's simple, practical meditation. Practical is something we all like. The ability to understand and to take simple steps toward a goal. And if you read the blurb that Jackie asked of me, I likened it to a roadmap. And when we're going anywhere, I open the book or I set my GPS and am able to see my destination. And if I do this, this plus this, I'll reach that destination with a minimum of fuss. So hopefully that's what we can achieve tonight. So this program is called the 4 Steps to Calm. We've used this program in several variations and locations with a variety of meditators. Some first-day meditators, never done anything, and others like you, considerably more experienced. But the wonder of this simple practice is that we can take from it what we need, and within those steps focus on the things that I feel bring me the benefit that I'm looking for. So if I'm really experienced, I can move along those steps much faster. If I'm practicing, then the first two steps particularly have that ability to give me a firm practice that will ultimately see me reach my goal either way. So 4 steps, what are they? I'll give you the 4 steps and then we'll go through each of them individually. The steps are to listen, to reflect, to concentrate, and to connect. Now, you know, I've been meditating for a long time and I use a variety, a version of these steps every single day. I get up early every morning, and every morning I go through a disciplined, practical, methodical steps that I want to take in order to achieve my goal. But I might do it in a different way. And as I've refined my practice over the years, I've been able to take those steps and turn them into something more suited to the position that I find myself, the stage that I have. So let's look at this first one, to reflect. Sorry, the first one was to listen. Sorry. So listening is a wonderful skill, and we can use different language to describe really the same thing. Another word we might use would be to observe. So when I'm listening, what am I doing? Well, if anyone has got a job with a half-decent HR department, you may be practicing already a form of mindfulness. Everyone, I'm sure, has read something in the last few years about this practice of mindfulness. And when I'm listening, that is to say, when I am paying attention to something, my mind is not wandering elsewhere. And as we all know, when we sit for meditation, that mind has the great power to be able to take off somewhere else, and I forget my goal. So when I'm listening, what am I doing? I'm paying attention to something. So we can listen to a variety of things. Here I am in the middle of Melbourne, and just up the road from me is the Royal Melbourne Hospital. Victoria Street is just down here. And right now I can hear traffic. I regularly hear ambulances going by. I can see even the helicopters sometime landing on the roof. So noise is a constant because of where I live. Where you live, I'm thinking if you're anywhere near the peninsula, I know from when I'm down there, when I'm sitting in the early morning, I can hear far away the train whistle go. Sometimes we hear traffic regularly. We hear birds and possums and the like. So there's always some activity. What is it that you can hear at your place? That may be somebody just in the next room moving around, or a television playing in another room. So to give my attention to these external noises is really a method to stop my mind wandering, accepting, hearing, and knowing that those noises have every much a right to exist as what I have. And when I have this awareness, I don't let that noise bother me. So the funny thing is that I can sit here with sirens going past and it doesn't bother me for a moment. So that's just one thing that I can listen to. What else? I can listen to the needs of my body. When we sit for meditation, and when people are first starting out on this journey, the ability to sit quietly even for just a few minutes can be a challenge. The idea that I can sit calmly for a few moments might take a little bit of practice. So within this mindfulness discipline, a body scan is a very easy way to deliberately and purposefully get my body to become still and quiet. So I sit comfortably. I check the noises around me. I acknowledge, I accept, and then I give my attention. I listen to the needs of my physical comfort. Checking for tightness and tension, and there are some easy places where they tend to hold tightness in my shoulders. Perhaps I'm clenching my jaw, my fists. And when I pay attention to this process, I can deliberately calm myself down, allow those shoulders to drop, unclench my jaw. I feel my feet on the floor, my back sinking into the chair. This is a wonderful method to listen to the needs of my body and to adjust myself accordingly. So this process of this mindful awareness, understanding that I don't exist in a vacuum, that there is a world going on around me, and even my own body is going to, and on occasions, pull at my attention. So taking this first step of listening to my environment, to my body, I start to become present. And this presence is the first step toward going on that inner journey, calmly, quietly, being still and being comfortable. That second step is reflection. Now, to reflect means, has lots of language that we can also use to help describe this, to reflect, to contemplate, to consider, to think about. It doesn't matter the language that we use. It's the process that makes the second step very real. So then this also, I connect this to the first step, to listen and to observe. One of the things that I can listen to are my own internal thoughts. Now, as we all know, our thoughts can be crazy. They can be wild and take us on all sorts of journeys. You might not be surprised to know that somebody has guesstimated that we have upwards of about 50,000 thoughts on any given day. So here I am, seated comfortably, happily in the comfort of my living room. My body is still, everything, the environment is just right. And then my thoughts run away. Things that happened yesterday, things that happened last week, things that happened 10 years ago. So what to do? The thoughts are probably the biggest impediment to having a good meditation practice. Of those 50,000 thoughts, what are we doing? We're often remembering the past. Frequently, we're worrying about the future, all the while neglecting the present, what's happening right now, that ability to stop, to smell the flowers. So the thought process is also something that I can harness that control of. We know that there are 5 types of thoughts. We have, obviously, positive thoughts and negative thoughts. But we also have necessary thoughts. We also have wasteful thoughts. And we have the 5th and least known type of thought, that which is pure or elevated. So let's look at each of those thoughts. Positive thinking is fairly obvious and easy. These are things that have the potential for a good outcome. Today, I will give up smoking, go for a walk, go on a diet. All of the stuff that has that potential for a good outcome. In fact, I can't start my day without that first positive thought. I've got to get up. So these are obvious and easy. These are thoughts that I can put in place. I am ... So with that method in mind, the idea then that we also have negative thoughts, and this too is obvious and easy. I'm too something. I can't do it. It's too hard. Only you know the language that you're using with yourself, that inner dialogue that creates those thoughts, which lead then to my feelings, my experiences, the attitude that I create, the vibration that I'm sending out into the world. Anyone who's been to a sporting match or to a concert has experienced atmosphere. It's real, 100,000 people at the MCG. That atmosphere is real. How was it created? Through everybody's thoughts and feelings. So the thing is that you and me, we are no less. We too are constantly creating an atmosphere. But when it's just us, that atmosphere is not as easy to understand or to discern. But nonetheless, we're doing it based on thoughts, creating feelings, producing an attitude. Ultimately, that attitude becomes my destiny. And over the course of a lifetime, I've had this internal dialogue with myself, telling myself frequently things that are just not true, but I come to believe it. I come to create that atmosphere, and ultimately it becomes my story. So don't underestimate the power of my thoughts. They have a great ability to lift me up or to drag me down. Then we come to the big one here, the department of waste. Wasteful thinking, that ability that it could be just benign thoughts that have no value, that my mind is on this roller coaster of chit chat with myself, remembering, projecting, hoping, dreaming. All of these things are just chatter for the mind, not necessarily bringing me any benefit, but sometimes bringing me a great deal of detriment. The department of waste, it's the big one here. And this is where we have this tendency to dwell on the past or worry for the future. This brings us then to the fifth and least known type of thought, pure elevated thinking. So pure thoughts, elevated thoughts, are they any different to positive thoughts? They are. They come, if they have a fairly similar quality, but they deserve a category of their own. So an example of that might be that I am naturally peaceful. I deserve to love and to be loved. Happiness is my birthright. Are these thoughts different from positive thoughts? I think they are. Positive thoughts that have the potential for a good outcome may or may not come to fruition. Elevated thoughts are just that, thoughts that are unqualified. I didn't say that I'd be happy if those kids would be quiet, if I get that new job, relationship, car, the things that we pin our hopes and dreams on, something that may or may not happen. But in fact, it was just a statement. I am entitled to my happiness. In my core, I am loving. And I am naturally peaceful. The wonder of elevated thoughts is that when I think of them in a certain way, I also then create that feeling associated with it, because it's not rocket science to understand that thoughts about peace, in fact, produce feelings of peace. So this is really the goal, positive thoughts, elevated thoughts, because when I have these two in my back pocket, negativity and waste disappears, just melts away. So how do we do this? We reflect. We listen to our inner desires. We think, what is it that I want? Today I will want. Today I will be tolerant. Today I'll be understanding. Today I'll be patient. Today I'll be generous. The list goes on and on. To think in this way is the foundation of contemplation. So we're starting this journey toward our goal. We've calmed our body down. We've taken a few simple steps to replace the negativity of the past, the thoughts that are wasteful and filling my mind with nonsense, and uplifting myself with elevated thoughts, positive thoughts. And this in turn translates into uplifting positive feelings. So here we are, we're moving forward, we're taking the appropriate steps. And what I can say is that these two first steps of listening and reflecting are probably the most important, because when I do that, I start automatically to be able to take that third step of concentration. So then I need something to concentrate on. Well, we just listened to a very beautiful commentary by Anthony Strano, and he spoke very eloquently, poetically about the nature of the soul. You know, tonight in the Australian Institute of Sport, they're using a powerful technique in their practice in sports psychology. And that technique that they're using is positive visualization. And what they are in fact visualizing is winning. That the swimmer, without even getting wet, can see themselves touching that end of the pool. A golfer is standing 300 meters away from a tiny little hole, but in that golfer's mind, that ball's going in the hole. This is the ultimate in positive visualization. They see themselves as winners. The reason they do this is because it works. This is a well-known technique employed by sports psychologists worldwide, because if I can see it in my mind, if I can visualize it, I can create that experience and ultimately become that. So what do we want to become? Well, maybe swimmers, maybe golfers, but for the purposes of meditation, we want to become the embodiment of the awareness of ourselves as souls. So to do this has two elements to it. The element of understanding. So we say, who am I? Well, we very quickly answer, I'm a soul. But then we must also ask, what does that soul look like? And as Anthony reminded us, it's a tiny spark of light, energy that is infinitesimal in size, so tiny that it can't really even be seen with the physical eyes, but it can be understood. And we understand that that energy, that light, sits in the center of the forehead. This is something so simple yet so beautiful. So how can I experience this? Well, using this powerful tool, this technique of visualizing. In my mind's eye, I can see it. So we all have physical eyes that I can see, well, myself actually looking back at me, but we're all looking at something with our external vision, but we also have internal vision. Just as we've spoken about the mind having thoughts, the mind also thinks in pictures. We can all visualize our homes, our families, our favorite holiday destination. We close our eyes and in our mind, I can see places, things, people. So as lovely as all of that might be, as valuable as that might be in creating a happy memory, for the purposes of meditation, we want to be able to see our true selves, our eternal selves. So how do we do it? Well, we create that image internally. I know all of you have seen the stars when they are shining in the sky at night. If not, it's cloudy tonight, I can't see any, but pop outside and see those stars. Remember, if you've all been to the centre, I'm confident some of you have probably taken home the poster of the point of light. Use these images to remember and to remind ourselves, this is who I am. Look at the picture of the soul, remember it and burn it into your memory. So clear can that image become that when I walk away, when I go to my bed, when I'm walking down the street, I can remember and create that image in my mind. So this simple tool, this powerful tool, has the capacity to help me take that third step of concentrating. The power of the point of light is not just an accurate representation of what I would see if I could see myself, but it also has a practical application in meditation, because the mind has that willingness so quickly to wander here and there, to be all over the place. When I have something to focus my thoughts on, there's nothing as simple, there's nothing as beautiful as a pure point. So when I'm thinking to myself, when I'm speaking to others, no matter how long that thought process, that complicated sentence might be, no matter how long it is, at the end, I still have to put a full stop. So this is the third step, seeing myself in my eternal form, that of light, that of that shining star, and put a full stop to those runaway thoughts. Listen, become still, become quiet. Bring my attention here by any method that I find works for me. Reflect. Fill my mind with uplifting thoughts that I am peaceful, I'm loving, and I'm happy. To think in this way has this amazing capacity to calm my physical self and my internal self down. But then take that third step to see myself in that inner journey of self-discovery, that I am a pure soul, sparkling and lovely. The fourth step is connection. So, all right, here we are in this thing. You've all heard the expression soul consciousness. It's a term that we use a lot in Raj Yoga. To have soul consciousness is to have the awareness of myself. To have supreme soul consciousness is to have the awareness of the Supreme Soul. Now, luckily, the process is not that different. Anthony, just through the guided meditation, described the beautiful ability to go beyond the material world, to go beyond this world of matter and sound and space, of things, to the world of light that he called nirvana. Because this is where the Supreme Soul resides. So I take this journey inwardly. With my mind, I imagine going beyond the limited world to this world of silence, of peace. And I see that other soul who looks just like me, shining light. But unlike me, this soul has the amazing capacity for love, unending love, the ocean of love. And just as the sun shines in the sky, when I sit in front of the sun, I feel the warmth and the energy of that light, of that warmth and power. So I can imagine the Supreme Soul as being like the sun. Light, power, warmth, energy. And as I sit in front of that energy, I start to absorb it. So this is the connection that we speak of. So these are simple 4 steps to take myself through the meditation process every day. Like I said, I do this still every day, but I use different language now. I've refined it to suit my needs as I've gotten more and more experienced. I also spend less time in the step 1, the listening stage, because I find it much easier now to go beyond the external world, where previously things would disturb me. Noises from the flat next door or carrying on down on the street, that would disturb me. But now, not so much. So depending on where I am in my own journey, I can focus on any one of those steps. For some of us, it is just that ability to be able to sit calmly and quietly without distraction. For others, it will be that second step of contemplation and reflection, to fill the mind, to stop the runaway train of thoughts from worrying about what happened yesterday, last week, last year. And I can start this process of filling my mind with uplifting thoughts, with powerful thoughts, thoughts related to my original and eternal self, that I am peace, I am love, and I am happiness. Because these thoughts lead me to those experiences. But then we start moving deeper and deeper. As I go deeper into this awareness, the body is quiet, the mind is open and in a state of calm acceptance. I can start the concentration process on myself. Who am I? Where am I? What do I look like? How do I feel? All of these things are already within my experience. I just have to remember them. In fact, remember is such a good word, a better word frequently than the terms that we use like meditation or yoga, because they are so laden with expectation. Am I doing it right? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? But we can all remember. To remember myself, who I am, where I am. Then we go deeper again to the thing that we call yoga, that connection, the union that is experienced through sitting in front of the sun of love and letting those powers, those qualities wash over me. So this, in a nutshell, are the 4 steps. Take what you need, focus on what step works best for you. Because as I progress further, as I'm able to become still and quiet and present, as I'm able to stop my thoughts from running here and there, the 3rd and the 4th steps of concentration and connection, they tend to happen by themselves. It's the first 2 steps that often pose the difficulty. So let's do it. Let's have a quick meditation based on these simple, practical steps. So, sitting comfortably. Listen. What can I hear? Whatever activity is going on around me, whatever noise I may be sharing my space with, it's okay. I acknowledge, I accept, and I let it go. I listen to the needs of my body, how it feels sitting in the chair. My feet on the floor, my back sinking deeply into the chair. I pay special attention to my stomach, allowing any tightness to wash away. I can feel my hands resting gently in my lap. And I allow my shoulders to drop. My shoulders, as they extend toward the floor, I feel my neck become a little longer, my back a little straighter. I inhale and take a deep breath, filling my lungs, feeling my abdomen rise and fall. So calm, so quiet. I step inside, into my inner world of thoughts and feelings. As the body sits quietly, the mind can still remain quite active. So with a few simple thoughts, I can slow those runaway thoughts down. Because in reality, I am a being of peace. I'm strong. I'm wise. I'm stable. I remember that peace is my nature. Happiness is my birthright. And love, my destiny. And on the screen of my mind, I create pictures, images of the ones I love, of the places I have been. But in practical meditation, I want to focus my thoughts on my spiritual self, my eternal self. And I know that that self is a soul, a being of light. I can see that shining light just like a star flickering in the sky. The body is calm, the thoughts are powerful, and my mind is focused. It's not such a big step now from this position of power to remove my mind, my intellect from this material world and go to the world of light, the home of souls, the home of the Supreme Soul. That soul who looks just like me, infinitesimal in size, but bright, shining, eternal. And I allow myself to come close. And as I come close to that light, I feel the energy, the warmth, the power wash over me. That light fills me, strengthens me, cleanses me. and I feel restored. So in just a few moments, with a few simple steps, I can take myself on that journey of discovery. Listen. I reflect. I concentrate. And I connect. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Greg. Not only did you bring us to consider the steps, but it was a very nice example of it. And when we're listening to you and what you were saying, it was very easy not to have any racing thoughts or running thoughts, as you said, thoughts running here and there. But when we're on our own and we're not using a meditation reflection, somehow the thoughts tend to run here and there. And I was thinking that, because it's a silence, and we often say in that silence that it's a time to go deep in the self and to get to know the self. And I think, wow, when those thoughts, the mind runs here and there, those thoughts that come up, they're really an indication of what we think at other times or what we're spending a lot of our day thinking about, aren't they? And so it's an awareness that is me, and that's what I'm doing a lot of the time, thinking of those things. So when I'm on my own and I'm wanting to meditate, or when I'm just wanting to meditate during the day, I have a few quiet moments, then what's your advice on how to deal with those thoughts that actually have some relevance in my life? They're waste, but they're coming up in my mind. And I know they're waste thoughts, but I guess just trying to suppress them doesn't work.
It does not. It's a good question, because this, there are lots of good techniques, but what I find has happened is that when the mind goes on that runaway journey, there comes a point where I realize I'm on that journey. Because much of the time, until we start this meditation practice, we don't even know that the mind is doing what it does.
Yeah.
But once we start meditating, we become aware of how our thoughts operate. So what I find tends to happen is that the time frame where I realize that I'm all of a sudden somewhere I don't want to be, it's at that point that I have the greatest power to change. You will, I'm sure, all have heard the acronym SOS: to stop, to observe, and to steer. So it's at that point when I realize I'm somewhere I don't want to be, on a journey my thoughts have taken me, that I can, at that point, harness the energy and move it away. So stop, that's the first thing. And you might want to use a little key word. Here's a good one. How about stop? And because that's where I have that power to change it. So this is why I love the practicality of using the visualization of the point, because it just does that very thing. It acts as a full stop. Create that image. I may find myself back on that runaway train within a few minutes, but the more I use that practice, the shorter that time is. The less I don't go so far down that track. Maybe.
Yeah. It's a good discussion, isn't it? Because it's mostly the questions we get asked, how do I stop my runaway mind? And I was thinking it was quite clear when you were talking. that my runaway mind is going to things that I haven't resolved. And so a point of wisdom would be to try and resolve those points. And usually it's worrying about how I connect with somebody else, or it'll be worrying about, how I should help somebody else, or what I should do to those kinds of things. A lot about what I should do. And you've been telling us really the powerful thoughts are what I should be. Yeah, to
You've
think of
all,
myself as being a being something.
yes.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
yeah,
sure you've all been at the centre and heard the music playing in the background, where all of a sudden there's this little jingle happening. This is a good method where they call it traffic control, where everyone stops for a moment and uses that time to direct the traffic of their thoughts somewhere else. I don't have that luxury when, particularly on a day like today, where I've been working at my kitchen table. But what I do is I go out for a morning break, a lunch break, and an afternoon break. And it's during those times that I use that free time to exercise my mind. So,
mhm,
and like a muscle at the gym, it gets stronger and stronger.
yeah, yes. I know you do quite a few programs with Fran, and Fran was saying how good or helpful it is for her to have little slogans, which she repeats in her mind.
Fran
And
loves an affirmation.
affirmation, that's right. And you might think they're a bit ridiculous, but they're not actually. It's amazing how much they work. There's such a power in it, isn't there? Yeah, such a power in those slogans. Have you got a favorite one? When you go for a cup of coffee, what do you think?
Make it strong.
It's strong.
Look, this is what I say, as much as I do these steps still every day, I want to get to step 4 as quickly as possible.
Mm.
So I find now that, I use those two things of concentrating on myself, the soul, and creating that connection. That's pretty much the destination for me every time. So I'm less inclined. I know Fran loves a good affirmation, and she's proof positive. I know she uses them. She uses them every day, and I've watched her change over the years into she's a great example of somebody who uses positive thinking in an effective way. So, but still go to next time you're at the centre, buy a little deck of self-mastery cards or one of those things, and just at random select something to use as a springboard to a better frame of mind.
Here we are. Greg, here's a question. This is a good question. How to resolve, not to try to resolve issues from our past. How do, we can unpack this. How to accept my past without trying to rewrite it? How can I recorrect my past? How can I change my past? And how can I, mostly how can I rewrite my past? Or how can I resolve not to try to rewrite my past? How can I accept what I was or what I had?
The only person who suffers the most when we deceive ourselves is ourselves. So you can tell anybody anything, and we all have a tendency to look back on things with a tinted lens, and so sometimes we do it in a bad way. We over dramatize an event or something, and other times we've totally blocked stuff out. I would say, that the ability to have honesty with yourself, and that understanding that the past is genuinely the past, that it cannot be changed. It's not just the past though, because we also have this great belief in a predestined future as well. So that means that what's happening tomorrow, whatever happens, I'm writing that forever. So let that story be a good one, because what happened yesterday, well, that's too late. But what happens next can be good and have an impact. So I would say, rather than trying to deceive myself or rewrite the past, is make that next moment a valuable one. And that in itself can negate the negativity of the past.
That is so wise, Greg. That is so wise. Yes, so concentrate on. So the question was how to resolve, not to try to resolve the past. So keep in the present and make sure that the future is
Well, really, the future, the next moment,
the
the
next
next
one.
moment. That's as much as we have. You know, we can make great plans for tomorrow, for next week, next year, but there's all we have within our absolute control is what happens next. And when that is right, then that
That's
automatically you're creating a good future by creating a good present. So
that's very, very powerful concentration and focus. I like that idea. So when you focus on what you're doing, to do what you're doing well, you are creating in this moment a good future. That's what you're saying, yeah?
you're writing your story as you're acting it out. You're writing it. So although we may have that predestined belief, the fact is you don't know what's going to happen next. So if I can make that moment good, and good, be selfish about that. That's okay. That's okay, because what's good for me is generally good for, if I'm doing right by myself, then that has an overflow effect.
Okay. Something else has come up. So this one says, in the insulated building we live now, it is a big deal to deal with the sound, noise of the facilities and utilities shared with the family members, right? We're all with you on this one question. What are your views, advice? You did give some earlier, so maybe, yeah.
About noises from outside?
Noises from family members when you live
Yeah.
in with your
I
family.
tell you, you can choose everything but your family. You're stuck with them. I don't know. I really don't know. It's this, here I am all these years later, and I look at my own behavior and I think, really, am I still doing that? Am I still reacting in this way? I thought I would have been better by now, but apparently not. And I have this great desire to be more patient and more tolerant. And I tend to bring it up a lot because it's what I see as one of my greatest shortcomings. So look, if I had that magical pill to know how to accept not just my own shortcomings, but those of others, I could become rich, but I don't. So I guess, self-respect is key here, to know that, the value that I have, the value that I bring to anything is no less than the value that somebody else brings. So that's probably the way to say, do unto others. Sorry, I wish I had a better answer.
Well, unpack a bit then. You were talking earlier about remembrance as being the one that was powerful, more powerful than meditation, sort of. Unpack that a bit.
Well, these words that, the popular culture things now of mindfulness, meditation, and yoga have enormous expectation on it. People, there's so much confusion about what yoga means. Meditation has got, there are so many different types of meditation. You Google meditation on YouTube and there's 1,000 people telling you how to do this or this. And even mindfulness, whether I'm doing breathing exercises or body scanning or listening or whatever it might be, that can become quite confusing. So I like this word, to remember. And to remember is something very simple. We can all do it. You don't have to have a sophisticated intellect. You don't have to have a great knowledge of techniques and practices and all of that kind of stuff. You just need to remember who I am. And the simplicity of the point is so lovely in this practice. It's beautiful, aesthetically pleasing to look at, and simple, not complicated in any way. You know, even a question mark is a wiggly line and another dot. A dot is just a point. To remember this is to experience it. So I don't know, it's just, I guess, a way of making something that potentially has a lot of confusion and complications surrounding it into something very easy.
Yes, I like that. And of course, we practice here in the Brahma Kumaris Raj Yoga a lot of the behaviors that will lead to a feeling of comfort with that understanding of that point. What the point holds, all of my experiences, everything that I've ever attained in my life is remembered in that. And basically, as Anthony went to great pains to explain to us in the reflection earlier, we are it. We are that peace, that silence, and that harmony, he says. Peace, harmony, and silence. All right. Any more questions? Do you feel like a closing reflection for us, Greg?
Sure.
And thank you very much for your wisdom and the practical aspect of your wisdom. Really appreciated that.
All right, thanks. Well, I was very happy to be asked, so thanks, Jackie. You're going to remember some very simple techniques of relaxation. As we become more experienced, we can very quickly detect any tightness or tension. So do that now. Quick check of my physical comfort. I feel my body become still and quiet. We all have a wonderful gift of internal vision. We have a mind's eye. We have a third eye. As I open that eye, I understand that my memories, my feelings, all my experiences are contained within this awareness. But I am also the master. This is my body. These are my memories. And as the master, I give the order to be still. I give the order to wait, because for the next few moments, I will remember my eternal self. I know that self is my authentic self. I know that self is very powerful. I know that self is very peaceful. I know that self is very loving. So I remind myself, I remember that this is who I am. And in that mind's eye, I create the image of the self in the form of light. Powerful light, bright light, sharp like a laser beam, with light spreading in all directions. That light is a symbol of the peace and power that exists within me, and it spreads in all directions. This is the stage of soul consciousness. This is the foundation of Raj Yoga. To understand, to experience, and to become. I will remember this powerful stage. I will take it with me to bed tonight, and I will sleep soundly in the awareness of my eternal, powerful, image of light. And then again, when I wake in the morning, as I open my eyes, let me remember, let this be the foundation of my day, that I am pure, powerful light. But now I bring myself back into the awareness of my body, the room. Once again, the reactivity around me becomes apparent. But I have returned a little different, a little stronger, a little cleaner. Om Shanti.